So here's my thing. I feel like men honestly tell on themselves, and all you have to do is listen. Listen when they talk. Because I'm not going to say men are not that smart, but a lot of the times they slip the truth in as a compliment. So I mentioned in another video, like if a man is saying you're too good for him or he's not good enough for you, he's low key letting you know that he doesn't feel good enough for you because he knows he's not at the level he needs to be to deserve someone like you. If a man says he don't deserve you, he knows he doesn't deserve you. Like, do you hear what I'm saying? He doesn't deserve you. If a man feels like that, and that's also like a sign of insecurity. Like, that's why I said, if you're smart enough to listen when men speak, they literally tell on themselves. They're telling you they're not who you think they are, or they're not as good as you think they are. So I feel like, and first and foremost, insecure men are not attractive. If you're dating a man, an insecure man is the most dangerous man you can date as a woman. And let me tell you why. Insecure men become abusers of women. It is always insecure men that try to drag a woman down. Insecure men who are dating women that they know they don't deserve and that they know are too good for them or that they feel they do not deserve will try to dim their light, bring them down to their level, and become their abusers at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, deep down, they know you're too good for them. So that's why I'm saying, if a man is telling you you're too good for him, believe him. You are too good for him. Don't settle for that a man who doesn't feel like he deserves you, because that type of man is not going to level themselves up to deserve you. They're going to try to bring you down to their level, instead of they're going to try to change you, dim your light to make themselves feel better. And insecure men like that are just not attractive to me anyways. Like, why would I want someone who doesn't feel confident in themselves? And it's like, if you're not confident enough to feel like you're good enough for me, it's just like, I'm not going to convince someone that they're good enough, right? And it's like, I don't know, have you ever met like a guy who's like compliment fishing? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can tell by how they're talking to you, they're like fishing for a compliment from you, or they want you to tell them something good about themselves. I feel like that's something that gives me the ick. Not even the ick, but it's just like, are you seeking validation from me? Is that why you're talking to me? Because you seek validation about yourself? That's what I'm saying. Like, just people who are not confident in themselves or who are highly insecure are not good people to date, because a lot of times insecure people have either very bad at toxic, they become toxic. They're toxic because they're deep down, they're not confident in themselves and they don't feel worthy of that relationship. So I think that's true for men and women though. So I will say insecure men are toxic because they become narcissistic abusers typically. Insecure women also are highly toxic in relationships, and they are constantly, thinking or seeking out problems. They often need a lot more reassurance from their partners, and that can create problems in the relationship too. So I'm just going to say this on both ends, whether it's a man or a woman, being insecure is like a breeding ground for a toxic relationship, which is why you shouldn't date if you're not secure in yourself and confident in who you are and where you are in your life. Like, if you don't feel good about where you are in your life, don't date. Like, work on yourself. Get to a point where you feel confident and good about yourself before you date someone. Because you dating when you don't feel like the best version of yourself, personally, my opinion, you are not going to attract the best person when you're not dating as the best version of yourself. I shouldn't even say not even necessarily the best version of yourself, because you can grow in a relationship, but when you're not dating as a confident person, you're not going to attract the best version. When you're dating and you're insecure, you're not going to attract the best person for you. And I don't know. I do think for a lot of people, insecurity does seek validation. So when someone is insecure about themselves, they often seek out relationships in order to feel better about themselves. So it's also kind of like insecure people are more likely to are less likely to be single because they're seeking the validation of a relationship to make themselves feel better. I hope that makes sense. And I feel like those types of people are often in very toxic, unhealthy relationships. Like, I don't know. Am I thinking too hard? Like, I don't feel like I don't feel like that's a harsh take, but I also think it's like I've heard too many stories, I've watched too many people. Like, I feel like let's talk about the whole Akira, Brene, Tim. If y'all have kept up with that, basically, this girl Brene used to date this man named Tim. They break up. She starts dating Tim's cousin. They get married, and then Tim ends up marrying this woman named Akira. They have 2 kids, and basically Brene ends up wanting Tim back, even though she's married to a whole nother man. Has an affair with Tim while he's still married to his wife Akira. They get a divorce, and now she's being sued for basically adultery. It's called alienation of affection, but it's really, she's being sued for adultery. Adultery is a crime now. It really is, and it should be considered a crime. Like, why should people get to break up a marriage with little to no consequences? I honestly think there's too many women who are confident. I shouldn't say just women. There's too many people who are confidently wrecking people's marriages. They knowingly date people who are married and don't care that they are, screwing over another person's whole entire life, and think there's no consequences for that. So I feel like this whole situation is proof that there are consequences to adultery and sleeping with married men. And like Nene Leak said, keep your legs closed to marry men. If y'all watch Real Housewives of Atlanta, y'all know what I'm talking about. But basically, and I'm pretty sure the lady who she said that to is also now being sued for the exact same thing that Brene just got sued over. Like, stop sleeping with married men and thinking that's a harmless action. Like, no, you're literally willingly. I feel like any woman who knowingly sleeps with a man who's married, like, you don't have good morals. You don't have a good sense of you don't have respect for yourself, but you also don't have respect for someone else's marriage. And I just could never understand this. Like, how do you think a man that is cheating on his wife is a good enough, like, why would you want to date a man that you know is cheating on his wife? Why would you knowingly date that one? How would you find that even attractive? And a lot of times, like, I get it, men lie, they cheat, whatever, but I just, like, I don't know. I really don't understand how people do that. Like, how can you entertain dating someone that you know is still married? And me, even if they're legally separated, that's not enough. That man needs to be divorced. I'm not messing with any, well, first of all, I wouldn't date a man that was, I don't know. Let me just continue on what I was going to say. The whole situation is basically just there's actions have consequences, and adultery is not a victimless crime. Like, people need to remember, if you're sleeping with a married man who has a wife and kids, or a woman who's married with a wife and kids, you are creating victims. You are causing chaos in another person's marriage, in that family. You're creating a disruption. Like, cheating is literally a horribly immoral action. Adultery is a very serious, I mean, obviously, according to the Bible, it's a sin, but like, I know we don't criminalize adultery, like, people are not going to jail for adultery, but you're creating victims. You're creating children who are now, children of divorced parents. Adultery and affairs wreak havoc in in families and in relationships. It disturbs the trust. It disturbs that. Obviously, the person that is most at fault is the person who had the vows to their spouse at the end of the day. Like, the person who is married is ultimately the most responsible for the adultery. However, if a person is also willingly sleeping with a person they know is married, in my opinion, you're just as much as at fault. But also, this is why now I'm gonna put my little Christian 2 cents. If y'all actually follow the rules of the Bible, it's impossible to it's impossible to unknowingly sleep with a man you're not married to, who's married, if you're waiting to have sex till you're married, right? Like, how do you accidentally sleep with a married man if you're not sleeping with him until you're married to him, right? So it's like, even like the laws that God has, literally none of these would be issues. That wouldn't even be a problem if people actually followed the laws that are in the Bible. Like, you can't sleep with a married man if you're not sleeping with the man you're not married to begin with, right? Like, if that man's not your husband, you shouldn't be sleeping with him, right? So anyways, well, that's just like if people actually followed the Bible, right? So it's just like, you see how messy things are because people think the rules that God makes are just suggestions, when in reality they're literally there and created to protect people and protect marriage and protect families and protect children from ending up in situations like Akira's entire family was ruined. This person that her husband that she loved and was the father of her children, she's now divorced. And I feel like people don't take divorce seriously, Some people don't take marriage seriously, to be quite honest. But also, it's just like, a divorce is not this, like, I feel like so many people treat divorce like it's not a big deal, but to me it is. Like, I don't think people get married wanting a divorce. Like, I feel like going through a divorce is hard. It's literally it creates a chasm and a disruption. It's breaking apart in a family into two sides, and it's just like, you don't have that unit anymore. And as a child of divorce, the fact that I don't have parents that get along and don't even talk to each other, it's kind of just like it's not a good feeling, even as an adult. Like, I can't go home to both of my parents for holidays anymore. That just made me kind of like, I don't know. It's just like it's a weird sense. Like, you really do start to um I don't know how to phrase what I was going to say in a good way, but basically it's like people who having parents who are married is a blessing. To be a child of parents who are, I should say, happily and healthily married is a blessing, but to just have a a family unit, and not have to be split between or choose between one parent or the other is honestly a blessing. And I know some people are just like, oh, well, if as long as you have two parents who love you, it doesn't matter. But I'm like, it does. I mean, I guess if you're a child who's always grown up without, and your parents were never together, you never really experienced both parents in a household where you can remember, I guess it is normalized having, your mom on one side and dad on the other side. But I also feel like when you're a child who's grown up with both parents and then it goes from that to separate, I feel like that is more of a, that's wreaks more havoc, because you were used to having both and then it gets twisted or turned into something, and you have to relearn. And there's a reason that there used to be services for kids who had divorced parents, but unfortunately now I feel like it's so common for children to have single parent homes and not have both their moms and dads in the same household. Like, even at school today, this girl was talking about how she's like, I don't like my stepmom, I hate her, blah blah blah. And it's just like, why it's so normal. It's so normal for kids to grow up without both of their parents in the same home. I feel like it's more common than people who have both parents in the house now. And I feel like that's just like sad that that's where we are as a society now. There's so many broken homes and broken families. And I feel like this all ties again, like the original thing I talked about was just like, there's so much mess that comes from people not respecting marriage, people not respecting their spouses, people disrespecting, misusing sex outside of what God designed it for. And then it's just like all of these other problems stem from those things not being respected. And I truly think there's so much foundations that are established through marriage and families. Like, the foundation of your entire existence is literally your parents. You exist because your mom and your dad, your mother and father's union created you. And then to have that not be a strong foundation, it kind of is like, it does kind of uproot you. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too deep about it, and I often do that thing where I just overthink things and over analyze things to make sense of it. But anyways, I just feel like divorce is really sad. Adultery is wrong. And it's sad that so many kids grow up in broken homes now, and that's just the normal. It's more normal to have a single parent or to not live or to live split time between your parents than to grow up. Or I guess I should say it seems like that's more normal or more prevalent than kids with two parent homes. But maybe that's not true. I think it's still, I don't know, it might be like 50-50 now. I feel like when I was growing up, it was like maybe 10% of kids had divorced parents, but now it seems like that's just grown to where it's like almost 50% of kids have like divorced or separated or parents who were just never together. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't necessarily think it's the majority of people grow up without that, because it might not be the majority at this point, but it's definitely grown from, I guess, what I remember as a child to what I'm seeing now. It's like there's way more people growing up without both parents than it used to be. And I feel like that's a true statement. Anyways, let's go to bed now. Good night.